Good day, everyone. Today we're going to create a quick relational database in a relational database management system, an RDBMS, better known as Microsoft Access. You'll need to get to a place where you can access, no pun intended. You'll want to open up a blank database, and we're just going to create one, and we're going to save this as, we're going to go ahead and save the first table by opening it into Design View, and it's going to prompt us for a name. We want to use self-description along the way, so we want to choose a name that makes sense. We're going to say Sightings, S-I-T-I-N-G-S. It's going to be the name, lowercase t, capital S, Sightings. And we're going to let we're going to give the auto incrementing ID number a reasonable name so we can identify it. Sighting ID is what we're going to call this. And next field we're going to set up, it's going to be turtle species ID. This is going to be a number. We're going to include the field name, turtle name, date time, and observer name. So, turtle name, and then date time. Notice I'm using camel case or title case. I'm going to make this data type date time, and then observer name. And we're going to save the first table. So, T sightings with sighting ID, turtle species ID, turtle name, date time, and observer name. We're going to create a new table, and we're going to go into design mode on this one. Design view. We're going to call this one T species lookup. So this is a table that's going to be used for species lookup. We're going to use the same auto number ID for records, so we can have a primary key, but we're going to use turtle species ID, then common species name, and Latin genus species. So turtle species ID, common species name, I'm just using tab to get through this, and then Latin genus species. We're going to save this. Our next step will be to create a relationship, and in order to do that we're going to have to close all of these. So we're going to right click and select close all, and then select the database tools option, and then relationships. We're going to shift and click both of these so that both tables can be added, and close this dialog box. We're going to create a one-to-many relationship. The species lookup is, there's a single entry for a species, and it's going to be used multiple times in the sightings because we can have more than one sighting of a given species. So we're going to drag from the turtle species ID to the turtle species ID on the other table. Now, provided these are the same data type, this will come up. It says edit relationships, and you'll notice the table here is species lookup and sightings, even though there's a common name here. We're going to enforce referential integrity. And if we make a change to update a species name or correct the name, we want to cascade, we want the update to occur between the tables. So we're going to create the join, and you'll notice that this is a really helpful notation here. So this is the one-to-many side. You'll notice the infinity symbol here. At this point, we'll save the relationship changes. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to open up the species lookup table so I can pre-populate some entries. I want to put in 3 different species of turtle: leatherback, green, and hawksbill, including their Latin name. For this purpose, I've got a handy text file. It's got these things already, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste these in here. I'll provide these to you as well. So we're going to common species name is leatherback. We want to do it in the order the text file offers. Notice as soon as you can drag the header so that the whole column displays a little more clearly. That's helpful. So the next one is green, and then hawksbill. All right. So now we have some basic species lookup data in here. You'll notice intentionally this is not in alphabetical order. I used leatherback, green, and hawksbill, and that is not in reverse alphabetical order because H comes after G. There's a point to that later. We're going to go ahead and save these entries, and then on to the next. I'm going to open up the sightings option, and I'm going to say that the first turtle I saw was a hawksbill turtle, so that would be the third type of turtle. Remember, we're putting in the ID number. It's a little cumbersome. You'll see a solution for that a little later. Right now, I just want to go ahead and put some information in there. So we're going to say this was hawksbill. That was the third ID number. The turtle's name was George. I met him while I was snorkeling. I'm going to put that we met on the 2nd of October, and I'll list my own name for the data. And there you have it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is create, you have to admit that working with a species ID and it's not in alphabetical order, that's not real convenient. So we're going to use some other database objects to make this easier for people to work with. I'm going to close all of these options, and I'm going to save any changes. What I'd like to do is alphabetize the lookup table. So I'm going to create, using a query wizard, simple query using the special lookup. I'm going to accept all of these by clicking the double arrow and click next. I'm going to change the name of this so it's not quite so just to abide by my own convention, I'm going to change the T in the front to a Q because it's a query, and because that query is pulling from a specialized lookup, I'm going to say species lookup by alphabetical. So I'm going to add the word by alphabetical. I'll click finish, and I don't see this in alphabetical order. That's because I haven't set the sort preference. So I'm going to click on this and go into Design View, and right here under Sort, for the common name, common species name, I'm going to click Ascending. I'm going to save this and view this, and now you see green, hawksbill, and leatherback in order, even though the entries for the species ID were different. To make things more interesting, I'm going to go ahead and just add a couple more entries here. The next one we're going to say was type 2, and it was Lucy was the name of the turtle, and this was on the 3rd of October. And let's say that Mark Blumedine saw this, and the last one was Volkswagen, because this leatherback is as big as a Volkswagen. Let's say it was seen on the 4th, and we'll say that Joanne Luciano cited this one. So, stand by. Going to save these and then close them all. Now we're going to create a query that includes, since the first query is an alphabetical lookup of the species list, we're going to combine that with the sightings table. So we're going to combine this query with this table in another query. I know, it seems weird. We're going to select the sightings table and then create a query wizard. And it's going to be a simple query. And what we're going to do is accept all of the data from tables, the T sightings table. But then we're also going to hit the pull down and hit this query and select the common species name and the Latin genus species. And then we're going to hit next. We're going to change the name of this to Q sightings, not T sightings. Q sightings, including species. And that way we know what we've done. And I have to use that capital letter here to offset that so it's a little easier to read. Then I'm going to finish. Now you can see why I added some more information for sightings. If I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have populated. But what's really important to understand is that the data from two different database objects has been joined so that basically we can see the species name and the observer and the date and the time and the turtle name. But remember now, the species name and Latin name were not part of this first data table set. So now we have what you can see is the power of a join and a relationship from one to many that where integrity is enforced. Now we're going to basically make this easier for the users, and that doesn't take long. So there's one last RDBMS database object that we'd like to create, and that's a form based on this combined data set. So this data set again is generated by we can write this to a table so that it's permanent, but half of the information is pulled from another table. More on that later. So we're going to close all again, and then we're going to select our sighting including species query, and then create with the form wizard, and it's in an odd place, so the two form options here are what people pick and then they lose their way. Don't do that. Form wizard. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to click next, and I'm going to accept this default setting, although I can go by species lookup if I wanted to do something a little different. That would offer subforms, so that's kind of nice. We're going to keep things simple though. We're going to click next, and we're going to change the name of this to F Sightings, and we're going to modify the forms designed. So we don't want to use T Sightings because that would be a table, and we already have that. We're going to use F Sightings, and we're going to modify the design. There's a couple of things we want to do quickly to make this form work right. So if we view the form, what you have is the form name up here. When that's displayed to users, F Sightings is not the best way to do this. So I'm going to go back into Design View, and I'm going to make a couple of quick changes. One thing I'm going to do is delete the F in the text box. It's not a field. It's not a field or list or combo box that's pulling from a database field. It's just a label. And then I'm going to insert spaces with the other labels so that it's easier to read. And as we work down the page, you'll see I'm going to save my form and look at it now. And here, if I use my navigation buttons at the bottom, you can see how my data is, there's a sighting ID, a turtle species ID, and then the common name and name of the turtle. Now, here's one thing that you can use this form to enter new data. So if I want to create a new record, I can hit the new record option down here, or go to the end, and then I have to put in something in the first box. Now there's no prompt for that yet, but if I enter a species ID, some of this is automatically going to populate. And what we want to do is let's enter, let's say it's a green turtle, so that's species ID number 2. And I tab down to the next one. You'll see that green and the Latin name is already, the Latin name should be italicized. We're going to show you how to fix that in a second. It would really be helpful for the user if there was some kind of prompt right here. Another label that says, enter a species ID right here, and to begin the process, right? But let's fill in the rest of this. Smurf, let's say it's a green turtle, so we'll call it, we'll pretend that its name is Smurf, and we're going to say that it was discovered the next day, and we're going to say that Michelle Peterson saw this while she was swimming, and we'll go to the next record. And if you want to know whether or not this actually populated to the sightings table, there you see Smurf and Peterson and so on. You notice just the necessary data entries in each record, in each of the fields for that record, right, were populated. It's pulling the rest from the species lookup table. So when we look at this now, look at this now. Now we see Smurf in the list, And yep, we see Michelle Peterson there. So we can adjust the order of display. We can make this ascending or descending in terms of date time, or in terms of turtle species, so we can get all of the species IDs grouped together. Or observer names, we can group the observer names together. This is really powerful. We need to fix the form a little bit, and then I think we're going to stop. So what I'd like to do next is to, every now and then it's important to close all of these. If any of them are open when you try to make changes, it'll fuss at you. So we're going to open up the form again and go into Design View, and we're going to enter a prompt, a little text box here that says, to start, enter a turtle species ID 1 to 3, and then we'll go from here. So I need a label that so to be precise, a text box is not the right word. A text box is actually a field in a database you can type text into, but in the RDBMS here, it uses label, the term label. I'm going to go ahead and take this and change it to italicized while I'm in here. I'm going to go over on the right side, and where it says font italic, I'm going to say yes, and now it's italicized, or at least that part is. I could also italicize this, just to make a point, so it's consistent with what folks do. So let's add a label, not a button for action, but label. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this here, and then say, just enter a left arrow and a couple of equal signs, and say enter ID 1 for leatherback, 2 for green, or was it hawksbill? I forget. Let me look. Two for green and 3 for hawksbill. Hawksbill. Green, 3 for hawksbill. And I'm going to drag this open so I can fit it in here. So now if I save this and then view it, I have an enter ID. Well, probably need to bring it down a little bit. So there we go. Yes. Enter ID 1 leatherback, 2 green, 3 hawksbill to begin. And that'll give us give the users a prompt. So we're adding a little bit of screen output here to prompt the user. This is really all you need to do. If you navigate to the very last entry that was put in, let's see, you can take a screenshot of any of these records, but basically if you look again at your query, you see the information is, all the information that's been entered is in there, and it's populated and in the table. So you can set up a macro to open this database application to the Sightings form, and users just work with the form. They don't have to worry about any of the data tables in the back end. This concludes our build of basic turtle species sighting log, sighting application, and we'll expand on this and extend a little later this season. Thank you for your time.